Yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of my dad's passing, and 3 weeks before that was the 26th year anniversary of my mom's passing. Grieving is hard. It can be isolating and lonely and unsurprisingly sad. I've been down this path before. I've experienced the loss of a number of people in my life, and as I sit here reflecting on this new normal that I've been acclimating to for the last 2 years of being here and not having either of my parents, it just still doesn't feel real. It still feels so surreal. Yesterday I tried to hold it together, like I typically do, and as is typical, the facade cracked majorly last night, and I was sitting in the room that my dad passed away in. Both of my parents passed away in the home, my mom in my childhood home, when I was 9, on the first day of 4th grade. And my dad passed away in my family home with my husband and my kids 2 years ago, a day after their wedding, my parents' wedding anniversary. So I was reflecting yesterday, sitting in the room in the dark. It's never a good idea for me on those days. I was sitting in the dark, and first I was just reading the messages because I was still texting my dad after he passed away. So I was reading those and looking at pictures, and I have a playlist that I created of songs that I associate with him that we listened to and jammed out to my whole life. So I was listening to that, and I started reading some of my journal entries from the first year after he passed. The grief was really heavy. The sadness was really heavy, and I came across the entry that I wrote on the September 24th of 2022. And probably had only been, it was way less than 24 hours, if it was even 12 hours from when he had passed away and was pronounced dead by the paramedics in our house. And I was reading it, and all I could say was just that I woke up this morning with no parents. My dad is dead. My dad is dead. I think I wrote that like 5 times. Still in utter disbelief. I actually think I just kept after that saying that this is so surreal. And it's crazy that 2 years later, that feeling hasn't really subsided. There are days when I wake up and still that I have to remind myself of the circumstances, of the reality. And There are times when I want to call my dad. The Olympics just happened this summer. Love the Olympics, always have. Got that from my dad. Used to watch that with him. I did track and field for a really long time and played basketball for a long time in life, and we used to watch the events together. The WNBA is having a resurgence, I guess you could call it, and we would call and talk about those games, watch those games together. You know, he bought me my first WNBA basketball posters, and it's just so strange to still have it feel like it's not real, if that makes sense. It's just a feeling of being untethered, like wanting to reach out to them, wanting to experience them still being here. You know, for a lot of people that have generally good relationships with their parents were the first people that loved them. Obviously, outside of God, all of this is being said with that understanding that God loved us first. But those are our earthly parents, and they're the first ones here that loved us. And they are the people that are there to support us, to raise us. They're attached to a lot of our memories. They are the ones that love us unconditionally. At least mine did. Whether it's quiet-ish, shy-ish, but sometimes moody-ish child to teenager, or a sassy college student, or whatever you could have described me along the way as I was growing up, but they always loved me. That wasn't something that I doubted. And oftentimes now, outside of a circle of people, that feeling is just not replicated. And so to be here without them can be very isolating and lonely. I don't have many people my age or in my age range, or that are my peers, that I can just call up and be like, hey, it really sucks not having both of our parents here, right? And them understand. And then you just also have people, like, as a society, we just don't really talk about grief. So like, one of the hardest things for me, especially that first year after my dad passed, was just constantly being around people that it just felt like, whether they intended to or not, just seemed like they just didn't care. Like, their lives obviously did not stand still when my father passed away. And so being around people who just, in a way, because there was no conversation about it or whatever, it felt like they were just able to just move on, and I couldn't. Not really hurt. And it's isolating to be, and I have felt this way since my mom passed, being in rooms of people, being around lots of people, and still feeling totally lonely, just totally isolated. So having to feel that again as an adult even more strongly was hard, still is hard. I really feel like I'm ranting, but I really had to get this stuff out of my brain.